FBI exposed Diddy and Epstein's vault. Mr. X is on the run. The courtroom lights buzzed faintly above polished oak benches. It was just past 9:00 a.m. when the doors opened. This wasn't a regular trial. Outside the line, wrapped around the building, reporters jostled for position. Protesters held signs that read, "Unlock the vault" and "Justice for the Forgotten." Inside, silence fell as a man in a gray suit walked toward the witness stand. His movements were deliberate calm. Kash Patel, former federal prosecutor, former chief of staff to the acting Secretary of Defense, now the key to the most dangerous trial in recent memory. He placed a small red folder on the stand. "This case," he said, his voice even, "isn't just about a celebrity. It's about how power is protected by silence, by systems, by people who should know better." He turned briefly to look at the defendant, Sean Diddy Combs. The once untouchable music mogul, now pale, unmoving eyes, locked forward. To most of the world, Diddy was a genius, a brand, a mogul. But to the people in this courtroom, he was something else entirely. Patel opened the folder. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. He started with dates. In 2001, a federal probe into financial laundering connected to Bad Boy Records was abruptly closed. No explanation. In 2005, an FBI request for surveillance was denied by an office we later traced to the executive branch. The jury shifted. Behind Patel, screens lit up. Transaction logs, redacted memos, photographs. One showed Diddy shaking hands with Jeffrey Epstein in 2004 on a yacht off St. Bart's. Another showed a wire transfer of $1.2 million from a shell company tied to Epstein's offshore trust, sent to one of Diddy's entertainment entities. Jeffrey Epstein was more than a name on the news, Patel continued. He was a gatekeeper, and Diddy, he learned from him. Gasps rippled through the gallery. Patel kept going. In 2012, the Department of Justice initiated Project Keystone. The target, Diddy's media conglomerate. Multiple allegations, coercion, illicit financial routing, suspicious private charters. The task force was disbanded 3 weeks later. Why, the prosecutor asked. Patel answered simply, because the pipeline reached too high. He pulled out a hard drive. This contains encrypted copies of what insiders called the Vault, a surveillance system built across Diddy's homes, jet studios. It didn't protect him. It protected leverage. A video began to play, fuzzy at first, then clear. A party, private, dimly lit. Models, artists, guests in high fashion, laughter, then a voice. Keep them happy. Keep them quiet. The voice belonged to Diddy. The footage stopped. The room went still. Judge Mason leaned forward. "Mr. Patel, can you confirm the chain of custody for that file?" "Yes, Your Honor," Patel replied. It was extracted during a 2022 federal raid on a storage facility registered under a front, owned by a man named Raymond Lex, also known as Mr. X. The room buzzed. Mr. X, a name that had hovered on the edge of conspiracy forums and encrypted channels for years. A known tax evader, a man tied to dark money pacts and offshore holdings. According to Patel, Lex was the bridge between entertainment and politics. In 2016, Patel said, "We tracked 7 payments from Lex-controlled firms to federal political action committees. Each followed within 72 hours a decision to halt or defund investigations tied to Diddy." He clicked to the next slide. A memo. DHS letterhead. Date October 2015. Do not pursue financial seizure optics, negative. Cultural collateral at risk. This was not justice, Patel said. It was insurance. It was a pact. Silence for influence. The prosecutor stepped in. "Mr. Patel, how long did you monitor these interactions?" Patel replied. "From 2009 to 2021. I reviewed surveillance intercepts, internal communications, and court records that were either buried or classified. Most damning, a document called Operation Blackwire." He opened a thick binder. Inside names, locations, time-stamped images, We're not just talking about Diddy, Patel said. We're talking about a network, protected, endorsed, used. He read names aloud, some redacted, some familiar. CEOs, political strategists, a now deceased lobbyist tied to 3 major campaigns. At the center, a symbol underneath a label, influence assets. Patel paused, let it sink in. Then came the questions from the defense. Isn't this just sensationalism, conspiracy theory? Patel leaned forward. If it's a conspiracy, why are there sealed indictments, forensic traces, and 7 federal task forces shut down without reason? He turned to the judge. Your Honor, with the court's permission, I'll play the second file. Approved. The audio played. The deal's done. South Beach is ready. Make sure Mr. X gets the list. He already has it. And Diddy, he's got the key. The court broke into whispers. The judge banged the gavel. Order. But the tone had shifted. This wasn't just a scandal. It was systemic rot. And Patel had only just begun. The next day, security tripled. Armed marshals stood at every entrance. Phones were banned. Even the stenographer had been replaced with a court-appointed AI system. The judge issued a warning. If any classified content leaks, the trial will be shut down. But inside the silence wasn't fear. It was anticipation. Kash Patel returned to the stand with a new file, black, unmarked but heavy. He set it down slowly, then looked directly at the jury. You've seen shadows, he said. Now meet the architects. The court clerk called the next witness. Your Honor, we call witness Theta. A woman entered, cloaked in a federal anonymity program. Her face was partially veiled, her voice filtered. What little was visible, posture, poise, eyes that didn't blink, told everyone this wasn't her first time dealing with power. Witness Theta had served as a high-level aide for a DC-based super PAC, her specialty logistics and donor management. In 2012, she was assigned to coordinate a private event in Georgetown. We were told it was an influencer retreat, she said. But what I walked into wasn't a party. It was a contract signing between politics and entertainment. Screens behind her lit up photos of attendees: Diddy, 2 senior campaign consultants, a lobbyist with links to offshore financial hubs, and a man identified only as Mr. X. There were no speeches, she continued, only briefcases and drinks. Then came the words, keep the name out of the press, deliver the demographic, we'll handle the paper. She paused. I didn't know what they meant until I saw the wires. Theta produced printouts of financial transfers from shell companies linked to Mr. X, routed through ad agencies into targeted social media campaigns. The donations allegedly for digital marketing had odd timestamps, always within 48 hours of Diddy facing public backlash or legal threats. She pointed at one. October 2013. Allegations against Diddy surface in a local Miami paper. 48 hours later, $600,000 is injected into a youth voting drive linked to a national political campaign. The prosecutor asked, are you implying the donations were hush money? Theta didn't blink. I'm stating it. Then came the memos, one labeled B4B, Beats for Ballots. An internal PAC strategy, Theta explained, that encouraged collaboration with celebrity figures in exchange for political favor, and in some cases legal delay. Patel stepped in with corroborating data. We found matching files in the vault, email trails, video meetings. One message from a campaign handler read, confirm invite list with Diddy's team, flag risky guests. Another file was played aloud. This time it wasn't Diddy speaking, it was Mr. X. We need that South Beach footage buried. You'll get your invoice cleared tomorrow. The gallery stirred. One juror's hand trembled. Then came the turn no one expected. The judge allowed a sealed affidavit to be read aloud. It was from a woman who had attended a private audition organized by Diddy's team in 2014. She had been promised exposure. Instead, she was filmed without consent, drugged, and allegedly coerced. She escaped with the help of an NGO worker who vanished months later. Witness Theta's voice cracked. She was only 19. The prosecutor looked to Patel. Was this part of a larger pattern? Patel nodded grimly. This was systemic. The vault wasn't security, it was surveillance. Not to protect the empire, to control it. He then introduced another exhibit, a chart. Color-coded connections between PAC's influencers, shell accounts, and Diddy's event companies. At the center a symbol, the infinity sign. Patel explained. That was their internal mark for untouchable assets, people whose value outweighed risk. Mr. X was marked in black, Theta in red. 2 aides from a 2012 campaign, now serving in high federal positions, were marked in green. The judge ordered a recess. Outside news vans scrambled. Reddit threads exploded. Hashtags trended worldwide. Your vault testimony. Mr. X named. Potter beats for ballots. Back in the courtroom, Patel stood silently, hands behind his back. He wasn't smiling, he was waiting. Because this was no longer about secrets. It was about who would fall next. When court resumed, tension cut the air like static. A new witness was about to take the stand. The clerk called him simply CW17. No name, no face. Just a code name, a silhouette behind a privacy screen, and a voice modulated to protect identity. But his words sharp, precise, unshakable. I worked for Diddy between 2008 and 2017, he began. I was on his private security team, specifically for information handling and internal surveillance. He paused. No one spoke. I was the guy who archived the tapes. I saw everything. The courtroom froze. CW17 described a private server infrastructure known as the Vault, an interlinked system operating across Diddy's properties in Los Angeles, the Bahamas, and New Jersey. It wasn't for security, he said, it was insurance. Every room had a camera, bedrooms, studios, jets, limos, even bathrooms, and every file was tagged by name, value, and potential use. Patel stepped forward with a supplemental folder. Inside, network schematics, backup protocols, and user access logs. These weren't just recordings, Patel explained. They were classified internally as compliance assets. The judge allowed CW17 to read from an internal handbook used by Diddy's staff. He opened to a section titled Compliance Strategy and read aloud, "If the subject resists, increase the dose. If panic ensues, isolate. If the threat level escalates, engage the handler." A woman in the audience gasped. The judge called for silence. CW17 continued, detailing an underground chamber beneath a recording studio in Hollywood Hills. Accessed only by biometric scan, the room housed hundreds of tapes, encrypted drives, and a standalone server connected to a global network. One of the drives, he revealed, had been physically smuggled to Puerto Rico under a fake shipping manifest. Patel confirmed it had been intercepted during a 2022 federal sweep of a shell company tied to Mr. X. This is how they stored the dirt, CW17 said. Every time someone threatened to sue, go public, or even walk away, boom, they'd get a call or a file. The prosecution asked, how many people were on these tapes? CW17 didn't hesitate. Over 150. He listed categories: public officials, young artists, campaign consultants, foreign nationals, a Supreme Court clerk. Each file was labeled with tags like asset liability or neutralized. Patel displayed screenshots, file names like BPI-113, Epstein Transfer X, and one ominously titled Vocal Blackmail, Case Alpha. The room was silent, but the weight of it pressed on every wall. Then CW17 revealed the worst detail yet. These files were used as currency, he said, in exchange for protection, for access, for campaign favor. He handed over one final exhibit, a party roster, high-profile names, coordinated security protocols, NDAs, drug schedules. Every guest was logged, not by name, but by influence score. A slide showed a heat map labeled South Beach Operation. It tied a 2015 luxury gathering to a surge in PAC donations, traced to Mr. X's shell accounts, totaling over $2.4 million within a 72-hour window. Then came the tape. The judge allowed Patel to play a short clip, less than 30 seconds. It showed Diddy standing in a lavish living room. The voice was unmistakable. "They think it's about music. Nah, I record futures. Insurance ain't policy, it's people." The screen went black. Someone in the back of the courtroom quietly whispered, "He's not an artist, he's a vault." CW17 closed his testimony with a final statement. "I didn't speak out because I was brave. I spoke out because I was tired of watching lives bought, sold, and erased." Patel stepped forward again, holding a small encrypted flash drive. "This," he said, "contains Blackwire, the system used to catalog every act, every favor, every silence." He turned to the jury. "And now it's yours." By now, the courtroom no longer felt like a courtroom. It felt like a war room full of names, timelines, and evidence pointing to something far greater than celebrity scandal. When Kash Patel returned to the stand, he carried no documents. Just a silver USB drive hanging from a black paracord necklace. He held it up. "This contains the full brief on Operation Scorpion, a multi-agency probe, jointly conducted by the DEA, FBI, and foreign intelligence partners between 2013 and 2016. He paused. It was meant to stop trafficking routes. Instead, it exposed how those routes were protected. The judge allowed Patel to proceed. According to his testimony, Operation Scorpion was originally launched to investigate suspicious air traffic between private Caribbean islands and entertainment-linked shell companies. One name kept reappearing in flight records: Sean Diddy Combs. Patel displayed a redacted flight log showing over 30 private charters, many linked to entertainment retreats, all filed under pseudonyms. Most flights originated in Miami and landed at either Great Exuma or a Bahamas airstrip registered to a holding firm owned by Epstein before his death. These weren't vacation trips, Patel said. They were drop zones. He explained how DEA surveillance had tracked 3 known traffickers attending events on the island between 2014 and 2015. The agents filed reports, captured photographic evidence, and built a case. Then came the order stand down. Source compromised. Patel revealed a message from a DHS official, time-stamped just days before a raid was scheduled. "Too much heat. Pull Scorpion. Containment preferred." "Who sent that?" the prosecutor asked. Patel answered flatly. "We traced the signal to a secure line operated out of a firm linked to Mr. X." More murmurs from the courtroom, but the next revelation silenced even the judge. Using Scorpion's archived intel, Patel walked the court through a 2015 Colombia trip that had been officially logged as a music scouting tour. But our team intercepted wire transfers linking Diddy's entourage to a Medellin-based network. These weren't music producers. They were laundering agents operating through high-end fashion front companies. He showed screenshots of customs declarations, packaging manifests, and one intercepted audio file where a voice says, "Tell him to use the speakers again. Miami Customs is paid." Then Patel turned back to the vault. He revealed that several tapes recovered from the Bahamas included recordings of underage foreign nationals at what were described as artistic development retreats. One affidavit, sealed but summarized, claimed a 17-year-old girl from Eastern Europe had been flown in under a modeling contract. She disappeared within 2 weeks of arriving. Her name appeared in Vault Index BZ119, flagged under quiet, no press. Patel didn't blink as he added, "We've confirmed at least 11 minors whose names match redacted immigration filings from 2013-2016. None of them were traced past entry." The prosecution asked, "Was Mr. X financially involved in these events?" Patel nodded. His companies paid for 6 private venues, covered charter flight costs, and processed appearance fees through tax-exempt art grants. Screens behind him showed the money trail Swiss accounts, non-profit art funds, Diddy's event management group. Then came a chilling detail. In 2016, just as Scorpion was gaining traction, an internal request was made to the DOJ for cross-agency support. A draft indictment named both Diddy and two business partners, including Mr. X. The request was rejected. Why? A memo read, "High strategic risk. Subject tied to ongoing cultural influence ops." Who wrote that? The judge asked. Patel hesitated. A senior advisor inside the National Security Council. The name is sealed under executive privilege. The courtroom went still. Then Patel dropped the final card of the day. He had obtained a declassified excerpt from a CIA internal memo titled Project Influence Node. It assessed individuals whose proximity to high-value social networks made them non-traditional intelligence assets. One name stood out: Combs Sean J. Though not formally recruited, the memo acknowledged Diddy's activities, provided observational yield for domestic influence assessments. The implications the government knew, and it let him operate. Patel concluded what began as surveillance for control evolved into surveillance for leverage. What the agency wouldn't stop, he used to protect himself. The judge ordered a recess. Outside headlines ignited, "Breaking Diddy linked to international trafficking ring. CIA memo reveals influence node status." The country no longer debated whether Diddy was guilty. Now it questioned how many systems had helped him stay clean, and who else would fall before this was over. The courtroom was packed wall to wall. Extra marshals lined the back. A journalist was removed for trying to live stream on a hidden device. The judge's warning echoed. The next witness testimony is to be treated as high-risk national interest material. Anyone leaking it will be charged under federal code. Kash Patel took the stand one final time that day, a metal case in his hands. He opened it slowly and removed a thick black binder, age-stained, annotated in 2 sets of handwriting. "This," he said, "is the Blackwire ledger." It had been recovered during a 2022 raid on a warehouse in Newark, New Jersey. The building was registered to a cleaning services firm. That firm, Patel revealed, had been financed by a shell entity traced back to Mr. X. Inside the warehouse, they found dozens of encrypted drives, surveillance equipment, and the ledger Diddy's operational diary. Patel flipped to a marked tab labeled BP-17. Each entry had a timestamp, a location, a code, and a result. Example 3.1114 SBFLA BP-17 result secured with donation value 3 stars. BP stood for Biden Passy, Patel explained. Each entry tracked favors, exchanged votes, endorsements. Silence tied directly to shell company transfers. Then came the next tab, NX. NX stands for Nexus, Patel said. It's shorthand for Mr. X's private liaison network. These entries described off-the-record meetings, private transport arrangements, and entertainment deals that served dual purposes: music distribution and influence laundering. On screen, Patel projected a log, NX 22.5. Event Martha's Vineyard, status compromised, gift confirmed, watch 45K. Then another, NX 27.8. Guest pack, donor aid, status recorded, outcome aligned. It wasn't just a diary, it was a blackmail engine. Every favor was documented, every guest rated, every risk is calculated. Patel turned the page to reveal a color-coded chart nicknamed The Web. It connected politicians, artists, executives, and foreign investors. Each line represented a financial transaction or surveillance artifact. At the center of the web, a small red circle labeled V-Key. That stood for Vault Key, the digital archive at the heart of Diddy's empire. Everything in this ledger matches what's in the vault, Patel said. But here's the difference: this shows intent. He held up a flash drive. This is the backup. The judge nodded. The court screen flickered. A video played. Grainy at first, then focused on a conversation between Diddy and a campaign strategist from 2015. Strategist: "We've got pressure from the media. If this gets out..." Diddy: "Then you send them one of my tapes. Make 'em disappear." Next, a phone call transcript. Mr. X. I need the endorsement locked in before Wednesday. Diddy send the flowers. I'll send the footage if he stalls. A juror shifted in her seat. Another closed his eyes, visibly disturbed. Then Patel revealed an intercepted invoice, $750,000 wired from a cultural outreach nonprofit to a digital ad agency, logged just 48 hours after a federal investigation into Diddy was quietly shelved. The memo attached for services rendered. Pipeline remains intact. The prosecution leaned in. Mr. Patel, are you suggesting that Blackwire was used to exchange blackmail for legal protection? No, Patel replied. I'm stating it. He displayed excerpts from the collateral index of the Blackwire files. Asset 3 holds footage of Junior Senator Miami, 2013. Liability 6, negotiating silence. Push deal via Mr. X. Neutralized 12 NDA signed. Tape burned, backup retained. These weren't allegations anymore. They were operations. The final video Patel played showed a private event in Los Angeles. No music, no press. Just Diddy, Mr. X, a table, and what looked like a line of files. Diddy, these. These are insurance policies. I don't run from the law. I rent it. The screen went dark. Gasps. One reporter fainted. The judge called for a short recess. Oxygen was brought into the gallery. When court resumed, Patel laid down his final piece. A spreadsheet showing matching dates between PAC donations, event invitations, federal probe closures. It wasn't a theory anymore, it was a pattern. In every case where Diddy faced risk, Patel said there was a corresponding donation, or a clip, or a guest, always followed by silence. The prosecution asked their last question of the day. Mr. Patel, in your view, was this a conspiracy? He looked at the jury. No. A conspiracy is a theory. This was infrastructure. Daybreak brought a gray sky, as if the weather itself hesitated. Inside the courthouse, a storm was building. Every seat was taken. Federal agents swept the hallways. Journalists whispered that redactions were being lifted. International outlets had begun calling the proceedings the trial that unmasked the American machine. But Kash Patel looked calm. He wasn't returning to the stand as a witness. His role was done. He sat silently in the gallery, arms crossed, eyes forward like a man watching a bomb detonate in slow motion. The clerk called the next witness. She walked in under heavy guard. She was introduced only as Witness Zeta, a former financial analyst, from a campaign tech firm used by multiple PACs between 2014 and 2020, her specialty pattern detection and encrypted financial trails. She spoke softly, but each word hit like a hammer. I was told the donations were clean, she began, but they weren't. They were rerouted through educational platforms, music streaming credits, and offshore foundations labeled Youth Empowerment. All of it was theater. She presented files that matched dozens of PAC receipts to companies connected to Mr. X, and events directly hosted by Diddy's entertainment groups. Then came the twist. One of the shell companies routing the money had a board member with the initials J.E. Jeffrey Epstein, deceased since 2019. The timestamp on the appointment, July 2014. That's 5 years before his death was ruled suspicious, she said. The connections didn't end when he vanished. The system he built, it lived on in Diddy's network. Zeta pointed to a chart labeled Echo Chain. It tracked how Epstein's financial templates, layered trust accounts, shell company, trees, non-profit disguises had been replicated across Diddy's empire sometimes by the same legal consultants. And at the heart of it all, Mr. X Zeta detailed how Mr. X had provided the logistical pipeline, moving data, people, influence, and capital. In one affidavit, a former entertainment executive described an off-books meeting with Mr. X and a DC fundraiser in 2015. His words, they said we weren't investing in music, we were buying relevance. The judge allowed final admissions into the record. Patel returned one last time, this time, not with evidence but with statements. He handed the court 26 sealed affidavits from assistants, from engineers, from interns, from survivors. Each one told a similar story: coercion, silence, pressure, then exile. One female former employee wrote, "I saw the footage. I saw what they did to her. I told my boss. He said, if you want to stay paid, stay quiet." Another, from a junior sound tech, "I installed the mic that recorded a senator. They told me it was just for acoustics." Patel read aloud one final message, found in the metadata of a vault recording. The original file was labeled Final Leverage, 2019. The note embedded inside: "If they ever come for me, they'll see their faces first. They built this." I just pressed the record. The courtroom was still. The prosecutor rested their case. Then at last the judge turned to the jury. "You have heard evidence of crimes. You have seen systems corrupted. You have witnessed how fame, money, and fear built a fortress. Now it is up to you. Does justice pierce that wall?" The jury left. The room stayed frozen. An hour passed. 2. When they returned, no one dared move. The four persons stood and read, "On the charges of conspiracy to commit blackmail, manipulation of political processes, and international human trafficking, we find the defendant guilty on all counts." The room exhaled. Diddy's shoulders sank. Mr. X, escorted in separately, didn't speak. His eyes stared ahead like glass. Then the unexpected happened. The prosecution handed the judge a sealed file. The title: Recommended Federal Inquiry, Complicity and Containment Executive Branch Review. Its subject: ties between former administration officials and Diddy's financial pipeline. The judge read it in silence. Then he said 3 words: "Send to justice." Outside, thousands waited. Some cheered, some cried. Others held signs that read, "No more vaults, and power without consequence ends today." In the gallery, Kash Patel stood. He didn't speak. He didn't celebrate. He just walked out of the courtroom. Behind him, headlines formed, like falling dominoes. Diddy found. Guilty, Blackwire confirmed. Witness testimony triggers federal investigation into PAC structures. Vault system described as modern blackmail infrastructure. Kash Patel's legacy: the man who broke the cycle. And quietly, in a digital archive, soon to be reviewed by Congress, one final file surfaced. Its title: Legacy: If I Fall, They All Fall. Its author redacted, but the initials SJC, Sean John Combs. And in that final line, typed in clean serif font, "They let me build it, because they knew they could use it, but they forgot I kept the receipts."